In popular culture, the Knights Templar are everywhere, keepers of hidden treasures, guardians of forbidden knowledge, and victims of one of the most shocking trials in medieval history. Behind the myths stood a real order of men who tried to be both monks and warriors. They guarded roads and castles, moved money across continents, and lived for nearly 2 centuries on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, one of the most charged religious sites in the world. Later writers would ask, what were they doing beneath that ancient platform? What became of their fabulous treasure? And did the Templars really vanish? Or did they survive in new, secret forms? In this video, we trace the rise and fall of the Templars, explore the mystery of the Temple Mount, follow their strange second life in Portugal, and look at how their legend still sails on the flags of ships. The Templars were born in the aftermath of the First Crusade. Crusader armies captured Jerusalem in 1099. Pilgrims flooded toward the city, but the roads were dangerous and lightly policed. Bandits, raiders, and hostile forces preyed on travelers. Many who set out with devotion never reached their goal. Around 1119, a small group of knights led by Hugo de Pin offered a new solution. A religious brotherhood of warriors who would take monastic vows and dedicate themselves to protecting pilgrims. They would live like monks, but fight like professional soldiers. The King of Jerusalem granted them quarters in a building on the Temple Mount, near what Crusaders believed to be the site of King Solomon's temple. This address gave them their name, the Poor Knights of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, the Knights Templar. For almost 7 decades, their headquarters in Jerusalem sat on that sacred platform, in and around the former Al-Aqsa Mosque, which Crusaders had turned into a royal palace. From there, the Templars had exceptional access to the surface and substructures of the Temple Mount. That fact would later feed one of the most enduring mysteries in their story. Medieval and early modern sources claim that the Templars did more than just live on the Temple Mount. They say the knights dug beneath it, searching for relics and treasures from biblical times. Some versions speak of the Ark of the Covenant. Others imagine secret scrolls, esoteric knowledge, or lost relics from the early church that might confirm or challenge the teachings of their own age. Archaeology has revealed tunnels, cisterns, and passageways beneath parts of the platform. It is entirely plausible that the Templars explored these ancient spaces, clearing out debris, reusing cisterns, and probing for anything of spiritual or political value. They had the time, the manpower, and the religious motivation. What we do not have are contemporary Templar documents saying, "We found the Ark here on this date." The detailed treasure stories appear later, growing in the centuries after the Order's fall, as people looked back on their dramatic end and filled gaps with imagination. Still, in a medieval world obsessed with relics, even the claim of searching beneath the temple would be powerful. At the very least, their residence on the Mount gave them enormous symbolic capital. They were not just knights, they were guardians of the temple itself. That reputation, of being close to the holiest secrets, may have helped them gain patrons, donations, and trust, even if we can't prove that they ever carried a single chest of relics out of the tunnels. To turn a small group of knights into an enduring institution, the Templars needed church backing. They found a powerful ally in Bernard of Clairvaux, a leading Cistercian abbot and one of the most influential churchmen of his day. Bernard admired the idea of a new knighthood, men who renounced personal luxury, obeyed a religious rule, and fought under strict discipline. In 1129, at the Council of Troyes, the Church formally recognized the Templars. A written rule described their life: poverty, chastity, obedience, simple clothing and food, and a white mantle symbolizing purity. Later, a red cross was added to that mantle as their emblem. Unlike cloistered monks, their main duty was military. They served as elite shock troops in Crusader armies and garrisoned key frontier castles and passes. They were professional soldiers at a time when most knights were part-time fighters. Their discipline and unity on the battlefield made them both feared and admired. As the Crusader states took shape, the Templars became indispensable in war. They were not feudal levies called up for a season. They were a permanent, trained force, bound by vows and a strict code. Templar units often rode in the front rank of Crusader armies as heavy cavalry. Their rule tightly controlled when they were allowed to retreat. This made them terrifying opponents, and sometimes led them into hopeless charges when retreat might have saved lives. Off the field, they commanded a chain of castles and fortresses scattered across the Holy Land and surrounding regions. They garrisoned key passes and frontiers, guarding roads and towns far beyond the walls of Jerusalem. These strongholds were expensive to maintain. They needed constant supplies of food, weapons, and men. To sustain them, the order developed a sophisticated network of estates and finances in Europe. The Templars' military work was expensive, but they had powerful friends. Across Europe, kings and nobles donated land, rights, and income to the order. By the 13th century, the Templars controlled a network of estates, farms, mills, vineyards, and urban properties, stretching from Britain to Iberia to the German lands. Their commanderies in Europe gathered resources and funneled support to the east. Their houses in Europe also became financial hubs. A pilgrim could deposit money at a Templar commandery in Paris or London, receive a written instrument, and withdraw funds at a Templar house in the Holy Land. They stored valuables for rulers and merchants, handled transfers of large sums, and helped coordinate the finances of crusades and royal projects. In effect, the Templars became key players in what we might call an early international financial system. That role brought them power and influence, but also made them targets for envy and suspicion. To many observers, the poor knights no longer looked poor at all. By the late 13th century, the Crusader states were collapsing. Muslim powers, especially the Mamluks, captured one coastal stronghold after another. In 1291, Acre, the last major Crusader city in the Holy Land, fell after a brutal siege. Templars fought to the end in their coastal fortress. Many died in the rubble of their own headquarters. With Acre gone, the order lost the central theatre for which it had been created. They retreated to Cyprus and a few island bases, but now possessed enormous wealth and structure with no clear, universally accepted mission. This made them vulnerable, especially in kingdoms where kings were heavily in debt to them. In France, King Philip IV owed large sums to the Templars and was eager to bring powerful institutions under his control. On Friday, October 13, 1307, he struck. At dawn, Templar houses across France were raided. Knights were arrested, their property seized. They were charged with heresy, idolatry, secret denial of Christ, obscene initiation rituals, and blasphemous acts such as spitting on the cross. Under torture and intense pressure, some prisoners confessed to shocking things. Many later retracted those confessions when they were not under direct threat. Investigations outside France often found little evidence of systematic heresy. Despite these doubts, Philip's political weight was immense. Pope Clement V, torn between scrutiny and royal pressure, suppressed the order in 1312. Templar property was formally assigned to the Hospitallers, though much was quietly absorbed by local rulers along the way. In 1314, the last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in Paris after proclaiming the order's innocence. The Templars were gone, at least officially. From the moment of their arrest, rumours spread about the Templar treasure. Did they hide gold and relics before the raids? Did secret convoys slip away by night, heading for Scotland, Switzerland, or distant islands? Was some astonishing relic smuggled out of Paris before the king's men arrived? Historically, much of the order's wealth was not piles of ready cash in a vault, but land, rights, and long-term revenues. These could be, and were, seized, reassigned, or quietly stolen. Inventories from the trials show confiscated goods, horses, weapons, plate, and moderate amounts of coin, but they do not reveal a single vast missing hoard. That hasn't stopped legends. Later stories imagine treasure fleets, hidden vaults, and lost chests beneath mountain monasteries. It is possible that local Templars moved some assets and relics before the arrest orders reached them. But the idea of one enormous unified treasure vanishing without a trace belongs more to romance than to the surviving records. While the Templars vanished in France, their story took a different turn in Portugal. There, King Dinis valued their military and administrative skills. Rather than destroy all Templar structures, he proposed a new order to replace them. In 1319, the Pope approved the Order of Christ in Portugal. Many former Templar properties, and likely many former Templar brothers, were folded into this new institution. The Order of Christ became a kind of Templar successor. Loyal to the Portuguese crown, based on older Templar assets and deeply involved in the kingdom's expansion. In the 15th century, Prince Henry the Navigator served as its Grand Master. Under his leadership, the order helped sponsor voyages down the coast of Africa and into the Atlantic. On the sails of Portuguese caravels appeared a familiar symbol, a red cross, now stylized as the Cross of the Order of Christ. In effect, the spiritual heirs of the Templars sailed with Portugal's navy during the Age of Discovery. That cross, once painted on shields and cloaks in the Holy Land, now flew from flags and billowed on the sails of ships pushing into the unknown. Did the Templars survive elsewhere as secret societies? From the 18th century onward, groups such as some branches of Freemasonry claimed symbolic links to the Templars. Rituals and titles invoked the image of the persecuted order as guardians of ancient wisdom. Stories grew of Templars escaping to Scotland, fighting at the Battle of Bannockburn, or founding underground brotherhoods that preserved their knowledge and treasures. Historically, direct lines from medieval Templars to modern secret societies are extremely fragile. We have more continuity of ideas and symbols than of actual institutions. Yet the myth of Templar survival has proven powerful. For some, the Templars represent resistance to corrupt authority. For others, they are the missing link in a long chain of hidden knowledge. In truth, fragments of the order did persist, in new forms. In places like Portugal, their rule, properties and missions were rebranded and continued under new names. Elsewhere, the Templars survived less as a living organization and more as a story that others adopted, repurposed, and wrapped around themselves. The real Templars were already remarkable, without adding a single secret tunnel or lost relic. They began as a small band of knights on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, trying to protect pilgrims in a dangerous land. They became an international order of warrior monks, castle keepers, and financial experts. They were destroyed in a political and financial storm, their leaders tortured and executed, their properties seized. Their memory, however, refused to die. The Temple Mount, the question of hidden discoveries, the fate of their treasure, their quiet rebirth in Portugal, and their symbols on the flags of ships, all of these threads have woven the Templars into our imagination. Between the solid stones of their churches, the dry language of their charters, and the swirling legends that followed, we can see both what really happened and the mysteries that remain. Some questions about what they dug on the Mount, what small things they may have hidden or saved, and how far their spirit lived on in later groups, belong to that space where history ends and story begins.